Hello, a very good morning. Welcome along to Ireland Day on Virgin Media 1 and Virgin Media Play.
It's Tuesday the 19th of November and here's a look at some of what's in store today.
Well, I'm sure some people stayed up for it last night. 10 political
Sweating
parties.
through it, were you?
Oh. It took part in the largest ever leaders debate. We're going to have the latest on that and the rest of the day's top stories at 7:15.
Catch you up if you didn't make it to 11:30. Plus, after last night's leaders debate, Green Party leader Roderic O'Gorman, he's going to be joining us to discuss his party plans to lead the next government. Now, if you've got any questions for him about any of the Green Party policies, you can send them to us. It's 0896 111 111. And let's be conscious, this is a human being. It has to be, decent question,
There you have it.
Yeah.
And there has been an exodus.
Yeah.
We are going to be discussing why users are fleeing Elon Musk's social media for a new alternative at 7:35.
Alan, what else is on the way this morning?
Well, Muireann, it's time now to stop. Look, she's on it already. Checking your fitness tracker.
Checking
Look, don't be doing. Look what she's doing. Look, checking her fitness tracker. How many hours did you sleep? How many? Yeah, see
I've
this.
been standing for 2 hours.
There we have it.
Standing
there we go.
for 2 hours.
Already today.
You've got to stop doing this because at 7:45 we're going to dissect new research that says we might become over-obsessed with health tech, checking how many steps you've done, how many hours sleep you got, what's your heart rate. Plus, at 9:20, we're going to be sitting down with artist Victoria Mary Clarke. She's going to chat about how art helped her grieve her late husband, Shane McGowan. And with cold snap hitting the country, we're fighting the freeze when it comes to our skincare with our skin nerd, Jennifer Rock.
You need to be chilled to handle Irish weather. That's why Chill sponsor weather updates on Virgin Media 1.
Very cold this morning with outbreaks of rain gradually moving south, turning to sleet and possibly snow over higher ground. Sunny and dry spells will develop from the north during this afternoon with the highest temperatures of 3 to 6 degrees and a chilly northerly breeze. And mostly dry tonight with clear spells. A few showers will drift in across northern areas, turning wintry at times too. A very cold northerly breeze will persist with lowest temperatures of 1 to -3 degrees. Frost and icy patches will develop overnight.
You need to be chilled to handle Irish weather. That's why Chill sponsor weather updates on Virgin Media 1.
Now, Virgin Media is turning Black Friday season red, and we've teamed up with Virgin Media Broadband to give away an amazing prize package all this week on the show.
Every day this week you have the chance to win a 4K smart television, an Xbox Series S console and a Samsung Galaxy S24 phone. There they are.
And we're asking you something different every single day. And today we want to hear your funny phone stories from your mum's posh phone voice. We all know that our mothers have a posh phone voice.
Hello, the O'Connell residents.
Absolutely. To texting the wrong person, or maybe you dropped it in the toilet and you need a new one. We have one to give away.
Oh, if you text the wrong person, send us that one.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
And then the fright
And the
that you
fallout.
get. No, but even the fright
Fallout.
that you get when you do it. But now you can delete it, can't you? You can undo the story.
How long would it take you to delete a message?
Yeah, I wouldn't even know
Yeah, there
how
we
to
go.
do it.
Yeah, no.
Now, listen, share your story along with your name and address to Ireland AM competition or comp at virginmedia.ie. And best of luck, and we're going to announce the winner at the end of today's show.
At the end of the show, absolutely. We gave it away yesterday. We're going to give it away again today. Yeah. Still to come, we're going to be breaking down the stories, making the headlines this morning. We'll see you back here in 3.
It's time now to take a look at this morning's papers. We're going to start with the Irish Independent. The headline there, Gardaí to publish photos in bid to find 100 riot suspects. The Gardaí are set to take the unprecedented step of publishing photos of dozens of suspects as they seek more convictions over last November's Dublin riots.
The Herald goes with Gardaí probe drive-by shooting link to West Dublin feud. In the incident, which happened in Shancastle of Clondalkin at 6 p.m. on Sunday, a number of shots were fired at a 4x4 vehicle.
The Examiner leads with 17 years in jail for raping wife and daughters. The 17-year sentence was imposed on a 45-year-old man for the abuse.
The Star leads with Monks top the poll. Jerry Hutch puts up his own posters all over Dublin inner city.
The Mirror's front page, my life is still kin danger. It continues to say that Jerry the Monk Hutch has claimed the Garda warning about the Kinnin threat to his life, it is still in force.
And the Sun leads with, "You're having a laugh." Gang boss Jerry the Muncutch has called for more Gardaí on the streets of the capital.
The top story on the Daily Mail is businesses warn Greens. A 4-day week would cripple us. Green Party leader Roderic O'Gorman yesterday said the party would establish a citizens' assembly to examine the introduction of a 4-day work week if returned to power.
And finally, the Irish Times goes with, Harris doubles down on defence of Fine Gael candidate McMahon on face of criticism. It states that for a second day running, Taoiseach Simon Harris and senior colleagues were required to defend the 34-year-old senator following the emergence of video footage showing him striking a man several times in the head during a late-night incident in 2018. So there you have it. Joining us with those stories is Sinead O'Carroll from the Journal.ie and Adam Higgins from the Irish Sun. Good morning to you both.
Hi, guys.
So we had the debate, the leaders' debate, 10 leaders, one room, going at it for what seemed like 2 hours yesterday.
It was longer than 2 hours.
It was, okay.
3 minutes overtime.
Give us a recap. Who stood out? Who did well in the debate?
I think probably the top headline emerging from it is that it was really a three-way debate with 7 others there trying to get time. Like, it was a debate within a debate between Micheál Martin, Simon Harris and Mary Lou McDonald. I think in some ways probably Simon Harris and Micheál Martin will look back at it, and especially with the optics of them standing together, they were drawn lots, and it did look like it was like the two of them versus other people who were... Okay. And they have been trying to decouple themselves, but last night really felt like they were very much a pair.
We should reiterate, because you will be seeing this when you wake up this morning if you didn't watch it, lots were drawn as to where the 10 leaders would stand and to where they were. They happened to be standing beside each other, and there was a lot of these glances, and I was like, it's a lovely rom-com.
Like we were saying in 2016, we would have definitely in the Journal made gifs of like the amount of times they were like nodding together or shaking heads together. So yeah.
Was it the two of them then looked like ganging up on Mary Lou McDonald?
No, it wasn't so much ganging up. It's just that they were obviously defending their government position. So it was hard for them to kind of decouple themselves from each other. It was a slow start.
Any of the smaller parties stand out?
I think
I think there was a good few smaller parties that stood out. I think Michael Collins of Independent Ireland kind of had a concise. He had less time, I'd say, than a lot. Like the way the Times worked, he had came in and out a few times, but he was good. He was concise, and he had kind of balanced arguments. He wasn't kind of going for blood. And then on the opposite side of that, Peadar Tóibín from Aontú was kind of taking the opposite tactic to that. He was cutting in and chopping at the government and the other parties, and kind of, I think, made an effective addition to the debate. But when
he got a 9 out of 10, I think, in the Indo.
He was the most effective of everyone else to get time. So he was able to kind of get in and like make sure that he was being heard and that he was making effective points after a question had been asked and answered by the other leaders.
Yeah, if you're doing a leaving cert in debating, you should study Peadar Tóibín. He's a great debater.
Yeah, and he had good calls to action for voters about what he wanted them to do. So he probably was, like I saw that in the Irish Independent this morning, he was probably the most effective debater, I think, on the podium.
What did we get out of last night, Adam? Did we get anything from 10 people on a stage? Obviously, this is a democracy and we've got to hear from everybody.
No, I think
it's the largest leader debate we've ever had.
I think we did get something. And I have to kind of praise Katie Hannon for the way it was handled, because it was 10 people, and going into this the whole day, I said, I think this is going to be chaos. It's going to be shouting matches. And there was a little bit of that to and fro every now and again. But ultimately, I think this was a beneficial debate. I mean, what the good thing about these sort of debates is people can see not only the personalities that are involved in politics, but you can see the policies and the measure up against each other right there in real time. Yeah. What are you going to do about housing? What are you going to do about housing? And I think that's useful for people because they can make their mind up again. Well, I actually agree with this approach.
You can also see their priorities a little bit. Like there was a question about the COVID inquiry and it was quite muted because it obviously isn't very high up on people's lists. Yeah. But then for something like the Occupied Territories Bill, someone like Richard Boyd Barrett was very strong about like what he has been doing for decades on the issue, and Micheál Martin is defending their position, and Fine Gael having to defend their position of not letting the Occupied Territories Bill go through. Ivana Bacik made the point that they were going to give up opposition time for it to happen. So people probably watching as well could tell by the questions which things were actually a priority and where then they as voters lie within that.
And a great job by Katie Hannon. 10 people in front of her and just trying to move it on. No, it went, 20 minutes over? But 2 hours that originally allotted. Fair play to her. So there'll be lots of things that you will be seeing.
Of course, we do have Roderic O'Gorman, who is leader of the Greens. He is coming in to join us and talk to us as well this this morning at 8:15. So if you do have any questions from last night's debate that you would like us to put to him, 0896 111 111.
Yes, now we're going to move on to the story in the front of the Irish Independent from Ken Foy. And we will have seen one of the suspects yesterday in court. And this is Gardaí to publish pictures of Dublin riot suspects. They want to make more arrests, Sinead.
Yeah, so they're going to, it's really unprecedented for the guards to publish up to 100 photos of people that they suspect were involved in the riots. They've arrested 57 people so far, 51 have been in front of courts. So they think there's up to 100 more. They have said they probably won't have 100 more arrests, but they obviously want help from the public to try and identify these people. They say they have people working on it consistently. There's still 8 officers working full-time just trawling through CCTV. So it's still an extremely active investigation, and this is the next part of it.
Wow. I mean, it's a big step for the Gardaí, but shows they're trying to clamp down on this because it was really ugly scenes at the time.
And we're coming up to a year on now as well. And I think there's probably a focus on, now that we're back in November, let's bring this back into the, people's mind and that's why this really extraordinary measure from the guards of publishing photographs. I can't remember a case of this happening before.
Well, if it leads to more arrests, absolutely, listen, it could potentially be a good thing.
Yeah, they're actually, just to let people know, there's a special section on An Garda Síochána's website where you can contact any Garda station, and there's up to 30 Gardaí who are still trawling through CCTV footage from the night. 30 Gardaí are trying to find and identify people. Yeah, because I think sometimes they kind of want people to remember that it was the worst kind of civil unrest that we have ever seen, like in the kind of modern history of the state. So watching the pictures again last night on the news, because obviously there was a suspect who was in court yesterday, and you're like, oh my God, they just threw burning stuff into cars and buses.
I remember covering it on the day, and it was terrifying in town that night, and even in the build up to it after the initial the stabbing of that child that kind of sparked all this. That scene there got really nasty really quickly. And how quickly all that unfolded was terrifying to watch. And that little girl's mother was speaking to the papers over the weekend as well. God bless her, talking about her road to recovery and everything. And she just sounds like such a wonderful woman with all this hope for her daughter. Yeah, and just life-changing. Life-changing injuries. Like lifelong injuries. Yeah. Oh my goodness. And she's at the centre of this. We need to remember that as well. Reading that story was the most horrific read. Yeah, very difficult. Thoughts go out to them. Now, we're talking an awful lot about this leaving cert reforms on the show. People have done leaving cert, always thinking that it should be changed. So it looks like there is potentially reform happening, but the teachers are not happy about it, Adam. Yeah, so there's going to be a protest today from teachers at lunchtime. So it won't affect classes, won't affect schools, anything like that. It's going to be at lunchtime. The teachers will go outside their schools and protest. And the very cold day for a protest, lads. So very rainy in Dublin. Very rainy. Well, I think it's important to let parents know that this isn't going to affect their day, because sometimes these protests can be difficult for parents as well when they have to reorganise schools. So there's none of that sort of stuff. So the issue is from September they want to start bringing in this kind of 40% of their grade for students in specific subjects. They're going to start with sciences and business courses. Will be done through continuous assessment and projects. And teachers don't want it to kick off in September. They're in favour of the changes, but they don't think the schools are ready for it yet. And in particular, that the resources across schools isn't balanced, and that this system will then benefit and it will be unequal in schools. Some schools have better resources and are adequately prepared, and where others need more time. So they kind of wanted to delay it for a while. The science teachers had a good example. They were saying, like, if these kind of projects, and they said the idea of the projects are brilliant in terms of the scientific lessons that they would teach the Leaving Cert kids. But if you don't have labs and you don't have the equipment, and obviously if everyone thinks back to their secondary school and maybe the secondary schools of your friends, there was a huge disparity between what kind of equipment and what kind of facilities some schools have compared to others. And if you're being assessed then based on what you can do in those facilities, it can be problematic. And then there's also the other thing is, like, there haven't been in-service days or training for teachers, so they're kind of being asked to do things that they don't feel quite ready to do yet. So you can see it from their point of view that, like, reform is necessary, and we would all like to see the Leaving Cert changed, but it does feel very quick for them, given these kind of things that are... I feel that will never be perfect, though. Yeah, and that's part of it as well, but
what can they do to at least, you know, try and get more funding, get more resources and more training before it starts.
And teachers, because there's new subjects being rolled out as well. Like we've got drama, film, theatre studies, climate action, sustainable development.
They're not against those two now. They're happy with those.
They're happy for them. They're coming in September. They're like, okay,
Yeah.
we can handle that. But then with everything else, they're kind of going, okay, hold on, you're throwing everything at us now and we need to do this properly. 0896 111 111. We'd love to hear from you about what's going on in your schools. If you've got a child in the senior cycle, a lot of these new things are changing, and we've got this kind of continuous assessment thing as well. What do you make of the changes, and have you been talking to teachers about their worries in relation to students and how it could affect them in their leaving cert?
And what do you think about them deciding to strike today as well? We'd love to hear
during their lunch break, though. To be fair, remember, during their lunch break, it is their lunch break. They've decided to go out. Yeah, that's it. Now, the greatest movie stunt of all time has been revealed. Your smile just said it all there, Adam
I
Higgins.
completely agree with this.
Do you?
Yeah, I do. And I have to say, this is a poll of what was the people's favourite movie stunts. And they've gone, top the poll is Neo in The Matrix. You remember Keanu Reeves doing the
I think we have
dodging the bullets.
Do we have here it is.
Yeah, we
This
can
is
talk
it
away,
here.
yeah.
So this is the greatest stunt.
The reason I think this is so impressive is, and I didn't even realise this until this morning when I was reading the brief, this is 1999.
Yeah.
I mean, that's incredible stunt and graphics that they're working on there in
It's the
1999.
camera work as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Kind of somebody running around with the camera, trying to keep it that still.
I think Tom Cruise might feel a bit hard done by.
He is
He
totally.
feels like plane or something crazy.
I'm
didn't he?
the stunt guy.
I have spent I've broken legs, I've broken ankles for this thing.
And all he's doing is just standing going backwards with two strings holding on to him.
How dare you? But it's when you think of it in time visually, it really does stick out. Whereas it's always with Tom, he should have the best run. He should
No.
best run in the
Tom
world.
Cruise's motorbike off the edge of the mountain in
Not
the
as
last
iconic.
Mission Impossible, and then he parachuted to the floor.
Yeah.
I'd be
it
with
was
the poll
pretty
though.
impressive.
Always Keanu Reeves above Tom Cruise.
100%.
Okay.
If you get a chance to pick
across the
someone.
board, whatever the question is.
0896 111 111
What
if you
else
want
is
to
in
get
it?
involved with the stunts.
Daniel Craig's fight scene in Bond, Skyfall as well, top 5 Cruise. Yeah, there you have it.
I love the stunts in I, Tonya, the figure skating movie, because they're the stuff that Tonya Harding did, no one else could do. So they had to try and recreate something that actually very few humans can do at the moment. So that stunt was really cool because they had like full on like very close footage of Margot Robbie.
I'd forgotten about that.
That was that should have been in it for me.
Yeah, there was a lot of pieces about that at the time going, she really has to learn how to do that. Yeah, that's a good... Oh, Margot Robbie.
There you have it.
Done.
Sinead O'Carroll from the Journal.ie, thank you so much. And Adam Higgins from the Irish Sun. Great to have you
Thanks
both with
so
us.
much for joining us. Now, coming up after the break, we're discussing Blue Sky, the social media platform that Twitter users are flocking to.
There you have it. We'll see you after this break.
Are you on it already?
There you have it. Now, don't forget that every day this week you have a chance to win a 4K smart television, Xbox Series S console and a Samsung Galaxy S24.
Yeah, all you got to do is send us your funny phone story. So, I don't know, you dropped it somewhere, you got an embarrassing phone call, sent a text to the wrong person. Share your story along with your name and where you are to irelandamcomp@virginmedia.ie. The very best of luck. And we're giving away so much tech stuff. We're going to stick with tech, the social media platform Blue Sky, which is similar to Twitter of old. It has seen a massive increase in users in recent weeks.
Yes, so here to tell us more about the rise of Blue Sky, it's journalist Elaine Burke. Good morning to you, Elaine.
Elaine.
What's Blue Sky?
Yeah, so it is very similar to Twitter of old in that it's kind of like short form posts. There's a 300 character limit on the post, but you can add media like images and video if you want to. You can follow people like you would on Twitter. But what's different is under Elon Musk, we saw this shift towards like a more algorithmic led feed on Twitter, where Twitter was kind of the platform that was about sharing in real time and sharing what's happening now. And now it kind of, you have the option to still have a chronological feed, but it often defaults to this algorithmic driven feed, and people see people that they're not even following show up in their feed.
They're not following stuff from like 2 days ago, stuff that you would never actively engage with seem to just keep on coming up, and you're like, what?
And there are theories that Elon Musk's own account gets surfaced quite prominently in that feed, and people are kind of fed up with that. So Blue Sky, you have a lot more control over what you see, and that's something that people really like about it, because you can kind of actually set your follow list, see who only the content from people you're following. There's even starter packs for people who are joining it, so they're curated by users themselves. So there's some starter packs that are like for people who like cats and fountain pens, or there might be like Irish media starter packs and things like that. And you can go through them and follow people on that list, or you can just follow the list entirely. So it can kind of speed up your onboarding on the platform.
Is it just another Threads, another attack on
So
X?
Threads actually isn't really chronological and actually tries to dilute some of the more politicized content on the platform. They try to keep it more of a soft content platform, more lighthearted. And some people don't actually like that. They do want real conversation. They do want to talk about political issues on websites like these, and they also want that real-time immediacy. I think that's something that's really lacking in the landscape at the moment in terms of social media.
So, so X does provide that, but it can be pretty toxic.
And it's engineered to kind of keep switching you back over to a more algorithmic feed.
Do you have the following section and the non-following section? So on X.
Well, there's another thing on X
because I know for sport, I use it. Like I love it for sport to keep track of match feeds and whatever
so it's
else.
Following versus For You, and the For You is the algorithmic driven feed.
Yeah.
And they kind of took that language from TikTok. That these sites all borrow from each other. But on Blue Sky, it is just who you're following.
Okay.
And you can create different lists and things like that. It's something that was very useful when we used to use old Twitter.
Is there a hashtag situation?
You can tag posts. You can, again, you can also mute tags if there's certain posts you don't want to see around certain tags. And when you block people on Blue Sky, it follows the old Twitter format where they can't actually see your content, whereas Twitter recently switched that and allowed users who are still logged in and blocked by you to still view your content. So that kind of allows people to continue harassing people. You can also actually de-link quoted content. So on Twitter, when you share someone else's content, it kind of quotes it and it embeds that into their post. And they've actually, on Blue Sky, enabled that you can de-link that if you want to. So when people kind of try and create with a high-profile account a pylon on someone, they'll often kind of use that functionality to embed their posts in theirs and kind of ask people to go bully this person. So to disable that is actually a nice thing for users.
So let's talk about, obviously, a lot of people have been leaving Twitter because people have been very sad, and it's been it used to be a great place to get information, to follow news, to watch the Late Late Toy Show with and get everyone who was laughing along, and it felt like a real community. Then it got quite toxic. The language is very bad. There's rape threats, death threats. There's really horrible things on that place. Blue Sky is different because there are moderators. What does that mean? Or is it moderated?
It's actually just that people are finding that when they do report content, they are getting responses. That's something that you can struggle with larger platforms. That's not a problem exclusive to X. Now, Blue Sky's use is growing, so we don't know how long they'll be able to sustain that level of moderation. But they do seem to be responsive, and they have, those block facilities are just a bit more robust on Blue Sky than you find on the current version of X. And I think that's something that users like. And that's something when X changed its policy on blocked user content, that was when Blue Sky saw a spike in users. And then also when X on November 15th was actively going to change its terms of service for users outside the EU. So this didn't affect users in the EU as much, where they would not be able to opt out of AI training. They wouldn't be able to bring cases against X in their local courts. They'd have to go through a specific court with a specific judge that is said to be favourable to Elon Musk, and also researchers who try to access a large number of tweets in one day for their research purposes would be charged for that. And when that terms of service was about to come into effect, Blue Sky saw 1 million users join in one day.
We can look at the live tracker of Blue Sky now, because it was 15 million just the other 2 days ago, yesterday, and now it's 19, coming up to 20 million.
Yeah, and you can see how fast it's ticking up, and it actually has an estimation there that there are about 5 users per second are joining the platform.
But is it because, do you see it genuinely becoming like what we were talking before? So Instagram would have billion or 2 billion people. Do you think we'll go? I don't know, what would X have? Is it just a kind of a thing for people to go to for a little while and then it just?
Yeah, the challenges they'll have there is will they be able to support it? Because it's obviously expensive to run a platform that hosts more users. They're currently, approaching 20 million, and that's been quite a surge for them. And they are having challenges with that surge in users because any platform that suddenly
to moderate that as well, like you said, which is really difficult.
And the monetization of it, how they're going to support it, is also a big question mark over the company. Now, it's also being run as what's specifically called a public benefit corporation in the US. So it's being run a bit differently than other platforms as a profit-making entity that's all concerned with that. And in tech, you actually don't really have to make money to continue being a successful business. Twitter, in its years of operation,
to lose money,
maybe made a profit business. 2 of its years before Elon Musk took over and took the company private. So Uber was a loss-making business for 10 years.
Do we really need another social media company
I miss a happy place where people put up funny things about their mum.
It'll change.
I think
surely
what it's been popular for is with media entities and journalists, and I think journalists have been looking for their space. And because of the immediacy coming back into play, and because of it not being so image-led and kind of soft content-based, like the likes of Instagram and things like that, I think you'll see a lot of media types using it. If you see a lot of celebrities using it to post, say, announcements and things like that, which celebrities used to do or have been able to do on X, and a lot of those people.
Gone to it.
Yes, Jamie Lee Curtis quite prominently said she's going to leave X for Blue Sky. Lizzo, I'm pretty sure, has defected as well. Now, some of them have left entirely. Some of them has just said, I'm moving more actively over here. So it could become a source of information, live feeds and things like that. Because when you think about even dealing with businesses, like, you know, people I know use Twitter accounts of, say, public transport facilities to kind of keep up to date of what's happening
100%.
with those things. So that
I
kind of
real-time
on Twitter social platform actually has a very utilitarian purpose.
Big task, exactly what I use it for. Listen, let us know what you think. 0896 111 111. Will you be making the move? Elaine Burke, as always, great to have you with us.
Tommy's like, not another one. Not another social
I do.
media.
I enjoy it for sport and stuff, having that live update. But anyway, let us know. There you have it. Alan, what's coming up next?
Well, Tommy, we're going to be discussing if our obsession with wellness is making us miserable. We'll see you after the break. Now, thanks for staying with us. With the increased exposure to health and fitness content online, our obsession with wellness can be often verging on the unhealthy.
Yeah, joining us to chat about this is counselling psychiatrist Niamh Delmar and fitness expert Niamh Buffini. Good morning, how are you? It's lovely to have you here. So, Niamh, can you tell us about this, the unhealthy side of wellness, this obsession? A lot of people are talking about this recently.
Yeah, it's kind of gone a little bit to the extreme, and what the danger is when it gets too obsessional for people, it takes over their lives, they feel bad if they don't do enough, and also the other side of it is that where is the information coming from? You know, more and more people are reaching to online for that information. So there's a lot of disinformation out there.
But when we talk about the wellness industry, it feels like it encompasses everything now. Like, you have to get up in the morning, you have to meditate for 5 minutes, then you've got to journal, then you've got to drink a juice, then you've got to do a 5-hour run, then you've got to do the 2-5 diet. Like, what the hell is going on? It's everything.
Yeah, and it's a 1.8 trillion industry. So the marketing, it's huge, and it's going to be bigger and bigger, and biometrics are going to get bigger as well. You know, that we're going to have bands on us and bracelets and everything that can measure everything from glucose to your blood pressure, whatever. So, you know, there's a great side to all of this, that people are getting more interested in looking after themselves, but there's also a lot of openings for charlatans and misinformation, or people that mean well but that just don't have the expertise.
But it is the technology, because you have the sort of bracelet that or the watch that tells you.
And I think it's useless.
Things. You think it's useless, but I was just, if I know myself, if I had one of them, I'd be waking up during the night, even checking it, going, "Oh, I'm not getting me 8 hours. My heart rate's this. My heart." Like,
he'd be dead. He wouldn't have it set up. He'd never charge us.
Seriously, is it people just? It's like it totally consumes you.
It consumes you, and then people are getting really self-obsessed about it. You know, and they're missing that there's other factors beyond that beyond diet, beyond all these things that we're expected to do, beyond vitamins, there's other factors to do with wellness. Yeah. And that's what's getting lost in all this noise.
It's who it's targeting as well. We'd love to hear from you in your life when it comes to fitness. Is it something that's become, you think it's gotten a little bit too extreme? And if there's younger people in your life, what's that like? Because Niamh, like, as someone who works within the industry as a fitness expert, it does seem like people are moving away to a healthier lifestyle. Yeah. Young people have moved away from drinking as much and all that kind of stuff. But is it verging on obsession?
It is verging on obsession. Now, the trends are going in the right direction. So there was a survey published in 2021. It's called the National Food Survey for teens. They also tracked physical activity. Now, the trends for physical activity amongst 13 to 18-year-olds has shot up. But what does that look like, and what kind of physical activity are they engaging in? So Irish teens are actually getting the minimum requirement that's recommended of 60 minutes per day, and then some. So they're actually stretching it out to 80 to 81 minutes per day, which is verging on obsessiveness. Right. Now, we've seen the explosion of teens taking out memberships, and we've seen the teens going into gyms or out running, and it's a great trend. It's a great
trajectory, if you like, but it is verging on far too much physical activity in a day, and it's consuming people's lives. And then you take in the factor of wearing the fitness watch, tracking everything, tracking calories, things like that.
But you see online now all the time, it's everyone taking their selfie in the gym.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the big thing. Like, literally, I don't go to the gym, obviously, but if you're there, people must spend half their time just taking the pictures of it. Like, you see that all the time. And a lot of them are just like young people doing it. But I mean, it is good in one way that they're there and doing some exercise.
Yeah.
But is it because they're getting sucked into this thing online and this social thing that we all have to look this way?
Absolutely. There's a massive body image component to this as well. A trend on social media stays a trend for a short period of time and it goes away like fashion. Okay, so we need to make sure that we're seeking professional advice when we engage in physical activity, particularly if it's in a gym using weights at that age group.
But always ask then a trainer or someone to get do a sort of course with them and follow a program.
Exactly, and it doesn't even have to be for 2 or 3 years. You can get a program made up specifically for your needs and not because of what you've seen on social media.
Right.
That's the dangerous side of it. That's the dangerous component.
I'm wondering if parents are worried about that, because sometimes you see 16-year-olds, like my nephew, he's a truck. Like, he's huge. He's absolutely massive. He's on a GA team, so he's training all of the time, like twice a day. 0896 111 111, what it's like in your life. But in all fairness, we are we're the most obese country, I think, in Europe, and we're seeing this move towards fitness. So we have to realise that there is value to this, Niamh, right?
Absolutely. We know physical activity and we know exercise is going to be associated with a huge amount of positive health benefits. But it's like with the mental health seeking of advice, it's who are they getting the advice from and is it appropriate, and that it doesn't take over their life. Because otherwise you can have things like exercise addiction, or what we refer to as orthorexia nervosa, wherein somebody gets totally obsessed with clean food and pure food and diets. And, you know, with exercise addiction, the person will still work out even if they have an injury, or they might take supplements to help them work out more and beef themselves up more and more. So it can get out of hand if it's not really monitored and if the person is not really kind of savvy about how they're using it all.
Can I ask you then, how do you know you're going down that path?
That's a really, really good question. And sometimes other people might have to flag it for you. You know,
because
I think
you are on this, you're on this mindset of healthy living like that, and people are watching you maybe getting very thin or just maybe bulking up too much.
Yeah, and sometimes it is other people that might say to somebody, you know, listen, what's going on here, or how are you doing, or do you think you're, doing a little bit too much of that? So it is the person to have that self-awareness and just to take stock and say, is everything balanced in my life? Because if somebody's exercising to the detriment of family life, for example, or they get into a really bad mood if they can't exercise, well, that's problematic.
Yeah. Obviously, with all of this, if you think that there is an issue in your life or someone else's life, please do go and seek help from your GP. But Niamh, there's an awful lot of, as you said, fitness trends, and there's an awful lot of supplements being shoved down people's faces as though this is going to be a good thing for fitness. It's not really a regulated industry. You can be getting stuff from all over the world. What would be your advice for someone who wants to lead a healthy and fit lifestyle?
For any age group, I always recommend that people stick to the basics, the things that we know that are recommended by the World Health Organization, the NHS, the HSC, is your 60 minutes of exercise every single day.
60?
And 60 minutes of exercise.
That could be walking.
That could be walking.
But like for most people, 60 minutes is a lot, isn't it?
Yeah, but that also includes,
does that include your steps? These like 10,000 steps?
Not necessarily. It can include vigorous cleaning, for example. There was a study done by Dr. Niall Moynihan on that particular aspect, and it shows increased heart rate, burning calories. So that can also keep you physically fit as well. So it doesn't have to be overly vigorous, all right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be overly vigorous. A walk a day for 60 minutes also, but including strength training in that is very, very important for
all age groups?
For all age groups, but particularly for 65s and older as well.
Okay. Yeah. And then, of course, watching what you're eating, all that kind of stuff. Listen, it's very interesting. People are talking about, people getting too involved in the wellness world. Again, as I mentioned, we would love to hear from you on this as well. Niamh Delmar, counselling psychiatrist, and Niamh Buffini, fitness and health expert. Thank you both so much for joining us today. Lovely to have you.
Very interesting.
Still to come this morning, we're sitting down with Green Party leader Roderic O'Gorman.
See you after this short break.
Hello, welcome back to Ireland AM. Here's what's to come on this morning's show.
Well, voters are going to be heading to the polls in just 10 days' time. We're going to have the first of our interviews with the party leaders. The Greens' Roderic O'Gorman is going to be here with us at 8:15. If you do have questions that you would like us to put to the Minister, 0896 111 111, or email irelandam@virginmedia.ie.
Yes, now for something completely different. Jennifer Rock, aka the Skin Nerd. Well, I suppose they're out canvassing. Their skin would be very bad, the old politicians. She's sorting out our wintry woes. Isn't that right, Jennifer?
I am indeed, from top to toe. The reality is that skin gets really kind of dry, irritated, sometimes itchy. It can actually be quite uncomfortable for people. So I want to talk about some solutions that are really affordable, because it's only for a certain period of time, we hope, that they're applicable. So we'll talk about all of that this morning.
Thanks a million.
There you have it.
It's freezing at the minute.
It is freezing. And again, if you have any questions, get them into us for Jennifer, 0896 111 111, because she's going to be hanging around until the end of the show.
We're all about you do the work today. Will you ask the questions and we'll just stand here? It'll be great.
What we do, Warren.
Plus, after 9, the wife of late Pogues frontman Shane McGowan is going to be remembering her husband's musical legacy. We're talking about Victoria Mary Clarke. She's going to be showing us how she's been healing over the past year. She's a wonderful woman. Looking forward to chatting to her.
Now, Alan is in the kitchen. What have we got, Al?
Yes, Jack O'Keefe is serving up a creamy pasta dish this morning. So it's nice and simple.
Nice and simple, easy one, perfect for like a lazy Saturday when it's raining outside and you just want to throw something quick together for lunch.
And what is it?
It's a lovely bit of mushrooms.
Mushroom pasta.
Sautéed mushrooms, some shallots, some garlic, some kale, and some lovely pasta with a bit of creme fraiche. Obviously, it's meat, so it's loads of butter.
Right.
And Irish cheddar.
Okay.
Really easy.
And it's all in one pan?
All in one pan,
So
plus the pot to cook the water.
So where's it going if it's all in one pan?
It's going to go up my Only Pans account. There we go. Desperate. I know, desperate.
Bad as the mushrooms.
Oh my God, he's not even a father yet, and the dad jokes are lashing out. Ready for it.
Oh, we love it. We love it here. There'll be more of them at 8:35.
You need to be chilled to handle Irish weather. That's why Chill sponsor weather updates on Virgin Media One.
Very cold this morning with outbreaks of rain gradually moving south, turning to sleet and possibly snow over higher ground. Sunny and dry spells will develop from the north during this afternoon, with the highest temperatures of 3 to 6 degrees and a chilly northerly breeze. And mostly dry tonight with clear spells. A few showers will drift in across northern areas, turning wintry at times too. A very cold northerly breeze will persist with lowest temperatures of 1 to -3 degrees. Frost and icy patches will develop overnight.
You need to be chilled to handle Irish weather. That's why Chill sponsor weather updates on Virgin Media One.
Now it's time to take a look at this morning's papers. We're going to start with the Irish Independent. The headline there, Gardaí to publish photos and bid to find 100 riot suspects. This is an unprecedented step of publishing these photos. It's going to be of dozens of suspects as they seek more convictions over last November's Dublin riots.
The Herald goes with Gardaí probe drive-by shooting link to West Dublin feud. In the incident which happened in the Shancastle area of Clondalkin at 6 p.m. on Sunday, a number of shots were fired at a 4x4 vehicle.
The Examiner leads with 17 years in jail for raping wife and daughters. A 17-year sentence was imposed on a 45-year-old man for the abuses.
The Star leads with Monks top the poll. Jerry Hutch puts up his own posters all over Dublin inner city.
The Mirror's front page, my life is still kin danger. It continues to say that Jerry the Monk Hutch has claimed the Garda warning about the Kinahan threat to his life is still in force.
The Sun leads with Ger having a laugh. Gang boss Jerry the Monk Hutch has called for more Gardaí on the streets of the capital.
The top story in the Daily Mail is businesses warn Greens a 4-day week would cripple us. Green Party leader Roderic O'Gorman yesterday said the party would establish a citizens' assembly to examine the introduction of a 4-day work week if returned to power.
And finally, the Irish Times goes with Harris doubles down on defence of Fine Gael candidate McMahon on the face of criticism. It states that for a second day running, Taoiseach Simon Harris and senior colleagues were required to defend the 34-year-old senator following the emergence of video footage showing him striking a man several times in the head during a late-night incident back in 2018. Now, coming up after the break, we're going to sit down with the Green Party leader, Roderic O'Gorman.
Talk to you in a minute.
You're very welcome back. Now, with the general election just 10 days away, political parties have been outlining policies and publishing their manifestos.
Here with us this morning in the first of our leader interviews is leader of the Green Party, Roderic O'Gorman. Roderic, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We do appreciate it. We know that you had a very long night at the leaders' debate last night.
A late night last night.
It was a very late night running over, so I can imagine that you're kind of mentally and physically drained. But one thing that was brought up last night, and it was actually brought up by Micheál Martin at one stage, given out to Sinn Féin, saying that they wouldn't spend on the Climate, Nature and Infrastructure Fund. But 2 weeks ago, you failed to get your coalition partners to agree to a 3.15 billion spend on that fund. So did that kind of show that the two of them can just come together and blank the Greens whenever they want?
Well, it showed that, 2 weeks at the end of the government, they were blocking a really important measure, a measure that would have allowed us fund the retrofitting of schools and hospitals all over the country so our kids would be in warmer classrooms, a measure that would have given €200 million to businesses all over the country so they could undertake retrofit and actually cut their own bills, and we know how much pressure businesses are under right now. So this fund, the Greens got agreed with the other two parties last year. It's put aside to support various parts of Irish society make those changes that are needed so they can do their bit to meet their carbon emissions and cut their own costs as well. So we wanted that agreed because it's really important to send a signal to businesses that yes, government is coming in, government's going to back you, make your plans now, make your business plans on the basis of the money that government is making available to you. So I think it was a mistake, frankly, and we made that point in Cabinet 2 weeks ago for government not to agree to that. But what I am saying is if the Green Party is part of the next government, we have assured that money is put aside and we've set out the plans how we can support business, how we can support public buildings become more energy efficient.
If you're part of the next government, because you were quite a big part of the last coalition, but as you mentioned last night, you've spoken about before, like the hostility from the other parties and your coalition partners in terms of climate measures. Do you feel a bit annoyed? Do you feel that they're throwing you under the bus a little bit?
What I feel is we were effective in delivering on our climate ambitions.
Exactly. So do you feel that you're being cast aside a little bit? You're maybe not getting the respect that you feel you deserved?
Look, politics is politics. We're in the middle of an election campaign. The elbows are out and everyone's fighting for every vote.
Must be frustrating, though.
Well, my focus is, I suppose, speaking to the Irish people, talking about what the Greens actually delivered. Because ultimately, the week after next, when people make their decision to vote, they are voting for people, for politicians, for TDs who deliver. And we have that track record. On climate, for example, our emissions are at their lowest level for 30 years. But in many other areas, whether it's the cuts in childcare that I was able to bring in, the cuts in public transport fares that Eamon Ryan introduced, time and time again, we showed how, even though we're a small party, we were able to deliver tangible results for Irish people all over the country. And I think, previous governments where you've had a small party, it's been, maybe they haven't really been able to deliver. They've been overpowered by the bigger parties during the 4 or 5 years. That hasn't been the case. We've delivered on all the key promises we got into the programme for government.
It is interesting, though, with smaller parties, when they go into coalitions, rainbow coalitions, that they always do end up seem to be a little bit of the whipping boy. And we are in a cost of living crisis globally. And as we saw in the local elections across Europe, the green agenda, that green sweep that we saw a few years ago, it's gone now. When people are seeing less money in their pocket, it feels like your agenda just doesn't matter to people because they're struggling to pay their bills. Would you agree that it's being wiped aside?
I'd make 2 points. One, it wasn't there in the local elections generally. Certainly in this campaign, I'm hearing people bring up climate with me for the first time because they're seeing what's happening in Valencia. They're seeing the impact of major weather catastrophes and seeing the damage, seeing the loss of life that they can create. But secondly, the measures that we've taken in government have all been about saving people money, whether it's cutting the cost of public transport. We cut it for everybody by 20%. For young adults, we cut it by 60%. Whether it's the retrofit measures we've put in place to give people warmer homes that are cheaper to heat. And we'll be launching our warmer homes policy later on today. Whether it's the steps I took for thousands of parents all over the country where we have the cost of childcare. Like, we can speak to, and these aren't once-off measures, because there's been a lot of criticism of the once-off measures that this government have brought in. We've brought in long-term changes that are cutting costs for Irish people all over the country, so we can speak very clearly to meeting that cost of living pressure.
But who's going to do it? Because we don't have enough workers to do the retrofitting work. Like, we can see it here. Department of Higher Education and Skills last month said we lacked the skilled workers. The money might be there. There's no one to do the work because they're not staying.
So that's why in our manifesto we've this idea of the IDA for skills. So you know the IDA, it goes abroad looking for foreign investment. This is a body we'd set up to bring workers into Ireland with target Irish people who are working abroad, be they in the construction sector, be they therapists.
We've talked about this on the show. We've spoken to a lot of people in the likes of Australia and the Middle East.
They've been in contact from Australia.
Yeah, they can't come back. They don't want to come back. They can't get a house.
We have to make it more attractive for them to come back. And I think we start by having an organisation designed to link in with them and provide packages, provide relocation packages, make it attractive. But the other element is, you're right, Tommy, it is addressing the availability of affordable homes, whether it's affordable purchase or affordable rental. And that's where the Green Party proposal is.
You've said you want, as part of the manifesto,
on the Land Development Agency, giving it €4 billion so it can build public housing on public land.
50,000 homes per year for the next 5 years. That's what you're aiming to do. Last year we only hit 32,000.
And this year
18,000. Well, this year I was looking at the numbers so far up to quarter number 3, and we're behind where we were last year.
So we're looking to deliver between 50 and 53 on average across the 6 years.
Exactly. Yeah. But 50,000 homes every year over the next 5 years.
Again, it's on average over that time. So there will be a ramping up there.
It's going to be 20,000 extra. Because we're only on 32,000.
As I say, it's on average, it's ramping up there. And that's why we need to use the Land Development Agency. So that's an agency set up by this government, designed to build public housing on public land. We're looking to give €4 billion of the Apple money to it, to capitalise it, to give it the money to continue to identify unused public land and build on it. I saw a really good example of that in my own constituency there 3 weeks ago in Churchfield site between Mulhuddart and Tyrrellstown. Unused public land now has 550 houses and apartments, cost rental, affordable purchase. Though that's the kind of thing we need to see done at scale.
But when you see last year, and I'm just taking Dublin as an example, and this is happening all over the country, 94% of the things that were built and available for that, they were buy-to-let. Like, there's an awful lot of buy-to-let happening in this country where people will never be able to buy their own property, be that a flat or a house. And there's something we need to do about that.
And the LDA represents the absolute opposite to that. It's the state building on public land and ensuring that those houses are available.
Why haven't you done it so far? Like, why isn't there more of this happening?
Because there does have to be some involvement of the private sector in meeting those housing targets that we need to achieve. It has to be the private sector and the state working together. What our proposal is how we ramp up that state element of the delivery of housing. And as I say, we're proposing €4 billion from the Apple money to go to the Land Development Agency. We've set up this organisation, and some of the other parties want to scrap it or make it do other work.
Would you go into government with them?
Of those houses.
Would you go into government with a party who said they wanted to scrap it?
We'll talk to all parties after the election. I don't believe...
for instance, Sinn Féin, if they want to get rid of that...
I'm deeply concerned about Sinn Féin's proposal about the LDA. I think a lot of time has been put into setting up this organisation. It is delivering thousands of houses already, and I think if we can give it the capital, it can do far more.
We all want to see houses being built, but the Greens had a bit of an own goal recently when your own housing spokesman Francis Duffy criticised the development of 330 new homes. I mean,
he objected to them being built.
That's NIMBYism if ever there was. I mean, from a party who's all about building houses, and your housing spokesperson has admitted to objecting to it.
He was in the photo.
And then took a picture when they were built.
Yeah. So Francis had a concern that the planning that was submitted for this development didn't meet the local planning rules that were set out in the local area plan.
I thought it was like he didn't like someone looking into his house.
No, it was the proposal was, in his view, in breach of the local area plan. And the Onboard Planola inspector actually agreed with that.
This is the problem, isn't it? Because these objections are coming in and are stopping the building of 300 houses.
But we want quality homes. I think we all agree with that. And I'm sure you remember during the Celtic Tiger years, there were estates built in this country that weren't quality, that didn't meet planning requirements, but were thrown up anyway. So absolutely, we want to build more homes, but they have to be good quality and they have to meet with the local planning rules. And by building public housing on public land, we can continue to ramp up, get those numbers.
Though when you saw that? You must have been. That was a
politicians
bad timing.
Have a right to put in a planning observation on the system. We've just passed a new planning act recently. We could have, banned all politicians from doing this. Politicians have a role in understanding local issues and making a submission.
Well, there was, you're talking about state-owned lands, and your party has promised to deliver 14,000 beds for international protection applicants by building on those state-owned lands. This is a topic on the doorsteps. Immigration, of course, is a big issue. Given the previous mismanagement of funds, and we could be talking about the modular homes that were over €400,000 each when they were meant to be delivered for less than half of that, how can we trust you with the state's purses and things like this? Because we just have to point to how much money the state spends on things when they do it themselves. Nothing has ever come in under budget, it feels like.
Well, we've faced the biggest humanitarian challenge our state has ever experienced. We've provided accommodation for over 100,000 people over a 2-year period.
A lot of people feel to the detriment of their community because they weren't consulted about what was happening.
And there are hundreds of communities around the country that have warmly welcomed Ukrainians, that have warmly welcomed international protection applicants as well. And we should speak to those communities as well.
Some also feel let down by the government.
Some have been critical, absolutely, but we have to talk about the scale of what we had to do. We saw a war break out in Ukraine. We saw hundreds of thousands of people fleeing, and Ireland stepped up and provided accommodation for over 100,000 people. But ultimately, I believe the Irish people can look back on that period with pride in terms of providing shelter, providing safety for people who desperately need it. And absolutely, we need to continue to grow the services. And one of the key parts of our manifesto is about putting investment into public services. We've a growing population, we've an ageing population, and we know that some of our
the impact of the growing population on the environment as leader of the Greens? I mean, realistically, we're going to move from a 5 million population to 6 million. That's going to have huge impact on the government and the environment.
And we've set out clearly the measures we're going to take to protect our environment, to protect nature, and to make sure we can continue the progress the Green Party has started in cutting our emissions. As I've said, even though our economy is growing, Tommy, our population is growing, our climate emissions are actually going down. And that's because of the work the Green Party has undertaken over the last 4.5 years. And we need to keep going on that. And that's why I see it really important that the Greens are part of the next government.
There's a message here from a viewer. Thank you for sending in some of your message. And they just say, very politely, can you ask Roderic O'Gorman what his party is doing for rural Ireland? It feels like a lot has been over-promised in this election, and when it comes to almost every party, and we've been speaking about it, looking at the numbers, it's like the Fiscal Advisory Authority shouldn't even be bothered being in existence because you're promising to spend so much money. And certainly there has been an awful lot of criticism to the Greens from rural Ireland saying, you don't care about us.
Well, first of all, what we've done to date, the investment in the rollout of the National Broadband Plan, 300,000 people now have access to high-quality broadband, and that's something my Green Party colleague, Minister Oisin Smith, has led on. Secondly, Local Link, public transport within rural Ireland. Before the Greens came into government, there were about 20,000 journeys taking place on Local Link services every week. That's grown to 100,000 journeys every week now. So these are people living in towns, living in villages, who are now linked, who are able to avail of services, go to shops, go to social outings in other towns. That's a major improvement in connectivity and in supporting particularly maybe older people, particularly younger people in rural Ireland. We got that written.
Have the Greens lost the link with rural Ireland, though? I mean, it's Eamon Ryan. He said it was his biggest regret that the Green Party are not concerned about rural Ireland.
Or that people seem to think.
No, I think it's because
people,
people think. And look, absolutely, we're made a whipping boy by some of our political opponents. You see it in the Dáil every week. But I suppose you asked what are the kind of the tangible, the real things that we've been able to do for rural Ireland. That's what we've been able to do. Connect communities through new local link services, provide people with high quality broadband, give people the option now to work in rural Ireland by putting in place these improvements in infrastructure.
But an awful lot of rural Ireland feel like they have been kind of left behind when you're there. There's, we've got a situation, businesses are closing down, people are finding that their communities are being decimated and that there is this sort of attack on what is rural life, and that we're not paying attention because we're paying attention to what's happening in the cities and in the towns rather than to these communities who feel quite isolated by an awful lot of the parties.
And you're absolutely right about the issue of isolation, and I suppose that's why I'd speak to what we've done to actually connect communities up through providing better public transport services, and we want to do more there. Our central part of the Green Party manifesto is in the area of public transport, taking €10 billion and using that to roll out those big public transport programmes in Dublin, in Cork, in Limerick, in Galway, in Waterford, but also continue that rollout of local link services that are being so beneficial. And actually, I made the point in the debate last night, some of the politicians, some of the independents who are most critical of the Green Party, they're the first to welcome the new local link service when it's delivered in their area. Don't mention the Green Party getting the funding, but look, that's politics for you.
This is exactly what we asked you. You must feel very much thrown under the bus so far. Now, your Donegal Green Party leader have not been using posters as part of this campaign, saying that they're wasteful, polluting and a hazard to the public. Do you think as leader of the Green Party you should have led with that? And felt that the money used on posters and everything else could be put into something else?
Well, our view is we love to see everyone using less posters. Our idea is, and it's what they do in a lot of European countries, they have one part of the town where everybody gets a billboard. All the politicians, all the parties get a billboard. You put your poster up there and people can go and look at it. That would be my preference. But I also know my first election, a long time ago, 2004, I didn't put up any posters. And I remember afterwards people coming in to me to say, God, Roderic, we'd have voted for you, but we promised to vote because we didn't see the poster up.
So
we're not going to do unilateral disarmament on this. We think we should reduce everyone's postering numbers. And I'd actually
just
say...
out of interest on that, do you wear second-hand clothes or carbon neutral clothing?
Do I?
Yeah.
I do a small amount of shopping in some of the charity shops
but just in terms, if we're trying to save the environment, that's what's always talked about.
Clothes.
Yeah.
Well, no.
Reusing.
Absolutely. And in terms of what I do at home, in terms of getting solar panels installed, trying to grow a bit of my own food as well, I try and do my best.
I just know the
carbon
footprint on clothing is mega.
It's significant, as it is in so many areas. And I suppose what we've been setting out in our manifesto is how we support families, how we support businesses, actually reduce that carbon carbon emissions. That's what we were speaking about at the start of the show, the money we're looking to provide for businesses from the Climate and Nature Fund, that they can actually retrofit and they can start to cut their own
Roderic, it's been
bills.
quite high profile. An incident in which you had when you were out canvassing with someone. It's an ongoing case, so we're not going to go into it. But how does it feel on the doorsteps? Because there has been some ugliness in relation to this general election, where people are expressing their anger in quite a physical way. Why do you want to do this?
Well, first of all, the doorsteps feel really good, I have to say. And we've had really good engagement and really good support in my own constituency in Dublin West in light of that incident, but more generally for the work that I've been able to do over the last 4.5 years. I think where it doesn't feel good is online, is in that space, which is pretty toxic. And I think I've said to you before, I've tried to kind of step away from that a little bit in terms of not having direct day-to-day engagement like I would have before I became minister. But I think the vast majority of Irish people are really happy that we're still in a country where politicians come knocking on the door looking for the vote. In France, in Germany, politicians do big debates, they do big rallies, they don't come knocking on the door. And that creates, I think, a gap between the voter and the political class. We don't have that in Ireland. People tell me about their problems when I'm shopping in Blanchardstown on a Sunday evening. They say, could you fix that? I think it's really good in Ireland that we have that close connection between politicians and
Let
voters.
everyone know now they're in Blanchardstown this Sunday to come over and have an old chat with you. 10 days to the election, and we know that you're all ramping up and everything. Who will you do a bush trucker trial with if you were in I'm a Politician, Get Me Out of Here?
Who would I do it
Who
with?
would you trust to do a bush trucker trial to get you some stars?
Get me some stars. Well, I've a great time for my colleague Lynn Rowan, independent senator. She's someone who I've worked very closely with on a number of issues. We don't agree on everything, but she's always really impressed with me, so I think she'd be good in that circumstance.
Feed the campmates well. Well done. Leader of the Green Party, Minister Roderic O'Gorman, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks very
Roderic.
much. Thank you.
Now, there's a quick reminder of our prize giveaway thanks to Virgin Media Broadband. Every day this week, you could win a 4K smart TV, Xbox and a Samsung Galaxy phone.
Yeah.
Great prize every day this week.
Today we are asking for your funny phone stories, and lots of you have been in touch already.
Oh, yeah.
Lots of people in contention for this. Some great jokes so far.
Yeah,
Kicks
Paula
off.
in County Limerick says, "Hi guys, my funny story is my mother, when she's texting, she uses abbreviations to try and sound cool and be down with the kids. And one time she heard a friend of a friend sadly passed away, so she said, oh, I'll send a text to pass on my condolences. So she texted, I'm so sorry for your loss, LOL. Thinking LOL meant lots of love. Imagine how she felt when I told her that LOL meant laugh out loud. She was mortified.
I've heard that one before
Paula.
as well. Very good. LOL. Louise said a few years back, I decided to... OK, we'll do that one. The hottest day of the year to spending the day in the sun, paddling pool out for the kids, only to have bum dialed my boss immediately after, and for him to hear me jumping around and being silly and hyper with the kids. The call lasted over 3 minutes and had to face him the next day. I was seriously contemplating if financially I could afford to just hand in my notice.
Imagine sitting there that day going, OK, send to your husband. OK, listen, if I just have to hand in my notice tomorrow, do you think we can
But
survive?
it's literally ringing in sick and accidentally ringing your boss. Go on, do one more quick one. Claire, I recently set up a YouTube on my parents' TV, set up voice controls so they could watch country music as they wish. Spent ages showing Mum how to navigate. When she spoke into the TV mic, though, her voice was too posh and I couldn't understand her. So, example, Mike Denver was Michael Denvoir.
Michael Denvoir played the music.
We laughed and laughed about this. We have now taught Ma'am just how to speak correctly. There you go. We've got
Love it.
loads more messages.
Loads.
Please send them in, your funny messages, to Ireland at virginmedia.ie.
Yes, do share your stories along with your name and address to irelandamcomp@virginmedia.ie. And the best of luck. We will be announcing that winner at the end of today's show.
Great.
Now, with the chill in the air, we have the perfect recipe for a cosy weeknight dinner.
Yes, Jack O'Keefe is in the kitchen. He's making pasta and mushrooms.
We love mushrooms.
No, I don't. But anyway, listen.
No
looking forward to
mushrooms in
this.
Tommy's pasta.
I'll try and pick them all out for you, all
Nice
right?
and simple pasta dish,
Really
is it?
simple, really easy. I just love, like, John, you work a lot. Not that I work a lot.
Yeah.
When you come home and you have after a nice stressful day and you just want something really quick, really simple.
time,
You know, especially
yeah.
when it's raining outside and it's miserable. So, mushroom pasta, really easy, right? Start off, obviously, with mushrooms.
Yeah.
I have the pasta here cooking away in the pot. We'll get to that in a second. The key to making mushrooms tasty is don't pretend that they're a steak, because they're never going to be a piece of beef steak, but pretend you're cooking a steak. Put your pan on the heat and leave it there for about 10-15 minutes until it's
like
piping hot,
smoking.
scalding hot. Like, if
Right,
I don't set
wow.
off the fire alarms, I don't know what's going to happen here, right?
Okay, right.
So olive oil.
So what type of mushrooms now? Did you go just for
I just used a random
ones?
mix of, like,
Okay.
I used a portobello, like that one, and some chestnuts.
Okay.
If
And
you
they're
get a
not
wild...
chopped up. They're actually quite bigly.
Yeah, I like
they're
them.
quite big. They're
Because
not.
they reduce down to nothing almost, you know? So have them all mixed into that hot pan.
Do you know, I think I used to like mushrooms when I was a kid. I think I ate too many of them.
And that's just.
Monaghan
you just
mushrooms
hate
are
them.
big
You are
in
from
Monaghan.
Monaghan mushrooms. But you
Isn't
just.
that your county flour?
They are,
no?
yeah, but I think I ate too much of them, or I must have got sick on them or something.
But you know, you can't really taste them.
It's the texture.
Right.
It's the texture.
Because when they're in a creamy sauce with chicken or something like that, you can't really taste
No.
it. You can't.
It's all about getting that lovely kind of char onto them with some olive oil and loads of salt and loads of pepper. And they suck up flavour very, very well. So while they're cooking down, literally about a minute or two, I'm going to grab some garlic that I've just peeled 2 cloves.
Yeah.
Garlic mushrooms is just the perfect match. Like, we'd often go foraging quite a bit as chefs, you know, and we had to go out into the woods, go find some wild mushrooms. And there's nothing better than just bringing a camping stove, a frying pan, a huge pound of butter, and loads of garlic, and some sourdough.
Do you ever watch that guy Man with Pot? I don't know, on social media.
Is he the guy who's just, he's in the woods and he's just cooking on and all you can see is the knife in the pan? Yeah.
It's kind of just the noise of it and stuff. Yeah, class.
Jack, can I ask you there now, just looking at you doing that, should you recommend that everyone have a good kitchen knife, a good sharp knife?
Yeah.
Because I'm just seeing how easy that was there for you now to do
But this is your knife from your little kitchenette, because I left mine on my desk.
Oh, so we have a good knife, though.
So it's actually quite sharp, it's not that bad. I smash the garlic with my hand just until it falls apart, and then I just run my hands through it like that a few times.
I'm going to buy a good kitchen knife. I actually don't think I have one. Do you know what's really good sharp, but like for chopping
I'll get you
stuff
one for
like
Christmas.
No, you're grand, like.
But no, I love the sharp knife. No one else in the house allowed to touch it.
All right, that's Tommy's
Put it
knife.
away, yeah. And if I dare catch Lucy, put it in the washing machine or something.
Oh, I've lost my mind a few times over that.
Lose.
Why, you wash it separately?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, you hand wash them.
Is it a very special knife?
Well, I got it as a present, but it's nothing too fancy, but it's sharp like that.
So, in on top of the mushrooms, once they get a nice colour, some garlic, some finely chopped shallot, or you can use onion. Right.
Beautiful.
And then in on top of that, I'm just going to add some butter.
If I didn't like mushrooms, would there be an alternative you could put in?
Yeah, like, do you know what's lovely? And don't kind of judge here, but if you go into like your supermarket, you get the jar of artichoke hearts in olive oil. So they're globe artichoke, and they're in little glass jars. Most of the supermarkets have them now.
What's an artichoke heart?
They're like a little. Do you know the artichoke? It kind of looks like it's a flower bulb.
Oh, yes.
Like that.
Yeah.
It's the preserved hearts of them. They're stunning.
Right.
You know.
Let's just stick with the
Some root
mushrooms, Tommy.
vegetables or something. You know.
I've nearly eaten up mushrooms instead of the.
So I just popped in some garlic there. Look, or some butter. The reason the butter has loads of herbs and stuff going through it is I was half asleep yesterday in the supermarket and I picked up garlic and herb butter instead of normal plain butter. But you know what?
Yeah.
Oh, that's nicer though.
Extra
Garlic and
garlic.
herb butter.
Right?
You have kale.
I have some chopped kale just to add some goodness and some iron to it.
I love kale, mashed potato and onion all put together.
Then I just toss all that together. Keep the heat up nice and high.
Right, it's dead handy. And then what? Just going to add
Quite easy,
the
right?
pasta to it.
And then I start adding in my pasta, right? So I'm using some kind of geely pasta, which is just this kind of cool little shape. You want to zoom in on my hand there like that?
Yeah.
I've never seen that
Nice and
before.
cute.
What's it called?
Geely.
Geely.
So you can use pappardelle. I think the recipe I wrote actually has pappardelle on it. But you use fettuccine, spaghetti, the rigatoni, penne, anything that's knocking around the house.
Do you like adding the bit of pasta water? Does that create the
you can see I'm
sauce?
using the ladle just to get that starchy, salty water in there.
Okay, great.
What's the sauce going to be then? Or
It's going to be a nice, thick, creamy sauce.
Oh, okay.
So that goes in. Just to add a little bit of kind of flavour and colour to it. Just going to add a little bit of paprika.
Okay.
So is this where the sauce starts now?
This is where the sauce starts. Now, look at the amount of pasta water I have in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, bring that up to a simmer.
Just really want to boil that down.
And then
Just start boiling it down. This is some creme fraiche. So you can use double cream if you want, but I always include creme fraiche in my shopping every single week.
Okay.
It's the full fat stuff and good quality creme fraiche. It's not expensive. It's like 90 cents for a big tub, and just pop that in.
That's not the same as natural yogurt, obviously, is it?
No, natural yogurt you'll taste from a mile away.
Okay.
Creme fraiche is like a cross between cream and cheese.
Oh, right, okay, lovely.
And then you just toss
turns
all that
into
around.
A lovely pasta sauce.
Yeah, mix it with the starchy water. You can use tongs like that just to swirl it around to mix it in.
And
while you're
obviously,
mixing it in
TV time now, you'd kind of let that boil down a little bit, would you?
Oh, well, it's done, really.
Necessarily at home.
Yeah.
This is pretty much done now. Do you know, if I was
very
at home and I
milky.
had time, I probably would
Leave
put it
it
on a
and
higher
maybe
heat for a
thicken it
few
up
more
a little
seconds.
Thicken up a bit.
Just bring it back up to simmer because the creme fraiche is cold.
Yeah.
And then I just have my pasta bowl ready.
Yeah, that looks very nice, doesn't it?
It's very easy, very simple.
And a vegetarian dish.
And a vegetarian dish, exactly.
And then you obviously, if you want to put a little bit of chicken in that, then...
Of course. What I would do is I'd have a skillet or a grill, and I just butterfly chicken breast, brown it off, and I just sit it on top or sit it on the side.
You'd sit it rather than chop it up and put it in.
Yeah. And then maybe even like a pork chop would be nice with it as well.
Oh, pork chop. That looks lovely now.
Right. And some vintage Irish cheddar. And that's it. A really simple.
Jack.
Really
Jack,
easy
that is
pasta
actually lovely. That looks great, doesn't it? Well, we're both avoiding the mushrooms. Look at it.
Oh, the flavour on it's great. Yeah. The cheese and
kids, there's no alcohol
the
in
creme
it.
fraiche.
Yeah.
And dead easy, as you said. Nip home from work, get yourself some creme fraiche, throw it on the pan.
And as you can see, I started within the 6-minute segment.
You're a star.
Jack,
thank you
thank
so
you.
much. Now, up next, we're getting our skin winter ready. We'll see in a few minutes.
It's actually...
Now, with the winter weather in full force, the cool breezes might be causing havoc to our skin. Look at that.
Havoc,
Dewy.
darling.
Look at the dewy skin on both of them.
Joining us now with her top tips for winter skincare is the skin nerd, Jennifer Rock. Good morning. Lovely to have you here.
Good morning.
What does this, because the cold snap has really hit very quickly. So we've got heating going on inside in the house and then really cold outside. What's it doing to our skin?
You basically summarised it. We're asking a lot from our skin in a short space of time. So I could be kind of nice and warm and snuggy in my car, and then I get out into the cold, then I'm back into a building. So essentially we're asking our skin to go from polar opposite, from cold to warm in a short space of time, which then in turn has a big impact on what we call our hydration levels. So people often say in the winter, my skin's quite dry. You're usually genetically dry, so it's what you're born with. You're either dry or oily. It's like a skin type. Now, interestingly, you can be slightly oilier on your face and then predisposed to dryness on the body, but what actually we tend to experience in this winter month is dehydration, which is a lack of water in the skin. So you think about it, you're in the car, the heat is on, it's dry heat, so it's almost, the skin becomes void of any moisture, and that's when it feels tight, taut, irritated, sensitized. So it's not a comfortable experience. It's not just a vanity and aesthetic thing. It really can be extremely uncomfortable if you're getting out of the shower and just feeling really taut. It can be quite sore. So if it goes to the soreness stage and you're swelling and so on and so forth, that's obviously medical. What I have here today are kind of affordable solutions for over the counter at home.
And I suppose, like you said, during the warm weather, we do drink a lot more water. We're prone to it more, so we're more hydrated, and we stop all that. And then, sort of, what are the real problems you see? Is it just dryness of skin?
Dryness, it's usually chapped skin. It could be sore hands. It can be an awful lot of shedding. Some people would often message us on the Skin Nerd and say when they take off their tights or their trousers, at the end of the day, there generally is like a lot of shedding of excess skin. Really? It can get to the point where it actually, and this is when it's medical, it can ooze, it can crack, it can bleed. So the skin is an organ, first and foremost. I think I, myself included, talk about it like a vanity piece, but there really is an element of it can truly affect you.
Okay, so long-lasting moisture is the first thing that we're looking for today.
Yes. So the face is honestly an area that obviously we talk about all the time. I like to say nipples up, still to my mother's dismay, but what I brought with me today, sorry she's watching, but what I brought with me today then is Bare Minerals. So this is the brand that's been around for a hell of a long time. It's more known for its makeup, but its skincare is really credible.
Is this for dry skin?
This is for dry skin, exactly. So this is their butter drench. I mean, the name says it. It's literally just like a drench of hydration.
Because I know them as
for the
fantastic makeup.
And I wear them, like I'm literally wearing it now, but yeah, fantastic makeup. But this essentially saturates a very dry to very, very dry skin. It's got shea butter, feel it wearing it. Oh my goodness, you're going to fall in love with it. So it's got shea butter, glycerine. Now, glycerine is essentially what we call an emollient. It means it really keeps the moisture levels in the skin. There's a slight scent of bergamot and eucalyptus in there. That's not why I wanted to love it. I wanted to love it.
Lovely,
but feel the glide, feel the slip. Imagine that your skin's extremely fatigued and dry at the end of the day. It's got technology in there, which essentially means that it keeps the skin hydrated. 354% increase within a day's use.
No way.
Yeah, generally. Studies behind it, that's the truth.
For hydration.
So for anyone that's feeling that really tight, taut, and I'm thinking about, I want to up the ante on my moisturiser this time of year, that's one to consider.
Okay, now you were talking about your skin getting irritated. So if it is starting to get irritated, what can we use?
So I'm a big believer in body products from top to toe all of the time, but I appreciate that in the winter months we tend to think about it a little bit less because we're covering ourselves up. I do always tend to come back to Eucerin time and time again. They're extremely affordable. They have this science, but ultimately they're designed by a dermatologist, which means it's good for dry, irritated, itchy skin. So a question we got in was that this particular person was saying that itchy skin that doesn't go away and they want long-lasting relief. So have a little feel of this one. It's a daily use product. It's really nice and lightweight, but it's got a key ingredient in there called licolacone, which is...
What?
Well, I'm probably saying it incorrectly.
Licolacone.
But the studies behind
Put your licolacone on.
Girl, look at me. Look at my licolacone.
I'm sorry, Eucerin, but the important part taken from this is that It's anti-inflammatory, so when your skin is extremely tender, sore, irritated, it's really affordable, €19, decent size, a little goes a long way. And the testimonials I've recommended to people and online, you'll say, is that it's improved their quality of life. That's a big testimonial.
And we were talking about psoriasis and skin conditions yesterday. Yes. Please do go to your GP if there are any issues. These are for non-medical issues.
Exactly.
With this, can you put these on, as I'm always asking you, on damp skin to make the product go longer?
Yes.
Like it will last longer, right?
And studies also show that when the skin is damp, it'll actually penetrate in that little bit quicker and better because your skin's more permeable, which is an important point.
Putting it on damp.
You're going to stay with us because we're going to ask our viewers.
Didn't even get to the third one.
We didn't because literally we want to get your questions in. So if you have any questions you'd like to ask to Jennifer, if you have skin problems at the moment, 0896 111 111. We'd love to hear from you. And Jennifer will be back in the next hour to talk about it and try and help you solve those problems. And we will then get to the other products that we're having. But for the moment, Jennifer, thank you very much.
We're making her stick around. Lots more still to come on Ireland AM.
See you back here in a few minutes.
You're very welcome back. Now, we have teamed up with Virgin Media Broadband to give away an amazing prize package. There it is, look at that. Every day this week, you are going to have the chance to win a 4K smart television, an Xbox and a Samsung Galaxy phone.
Today, we're asking for your funny phone stories, and here are just some of your entries.
Some of them are very good, and thank you for sending in your messages and your stories. Kate from Scary says, when I was a teenager, we had a phone line in the house where you needed to dial 9 to get the outside line. I forgot the 9 bit, and I tried to call in sick to my school when I was in 6th year. Didn't recognise it was my mam's voice until she was sort of saying, I have to phone in sick, and my mam's roaring at me on the other end of the line to get myself out that door and to school. Could you imagine? This is it, I'm just phoning up.
This is Mrs. O'Reilly.
And the mother's upstairs on the other phone going, what, get out that door?
So good. Dave is in Waterford. Hello, Dave. And Dave said, he says, a friend received a call from his wife. She said to come home and have sex. He hurried home, ready for action, ran into the sitting room to find her there with 4 friends. Turned out she'd rung him and told him to come home at 6:30. I'm sorry, the jaded cameramen behind this here are all laughing at that one, Dave. Well done.
You could have thought, this is a great day when you came in and there was 4 of them there.
I know, exactly. That's wow. Imagine that, getting that phone call. Anne said, my funny story is on holiday a few weeks ago when my sister-in-law rang me to arrange meeting up. I said, yes, I'll ring you back when I find my phone. I had everyone looking for my phone, including the bartender. Sure, I was on the phone talking to her. God, I had a blonde moment. I think
I'll
everyone
phone you
thought
back when I find my phone. Sorry, bye.
But it was under my chin when talking on it. Love it. There you go.
That's brilliant.
Very
You can
good.
so see how that happened.
My phone. Yeah, we're sitting on it. Thank you for sending those texts.
Oh, God, yeah.
Now, do share your funny phone stories along with your name and address to irelandamcomp@virginmedia.ie. Good luck, because somebody's going to win that fantastic prize by the end of the show. So it's only another 47 minutes left.
We'd win her yesterday.
Yeah.
We'll win her later on today. Looking forward to seeing that.
Indeed. Now, I think still to come, we're going to be sitting down with writer and artist Victoria Mary Clarke.
Yeah, we'll see you back here very shortly.
Welcome back. Now, on November 30th, 2023, the world sadly lost the musical legend that was Shane McGowan.
Yeah, as we approach the 1-year anniversary of Shane's death, we are joined now by his wife, writer and artist, Victoria Mary Clarke, to look back on Shane's life. Good morning to you, Victoria. Thanks so much for coming in to see us. Listen, it's all coming up in a year. How has the year been for you?
Well, and we were just before we came on air, we were just talking about how, people always say that everybody grieves differently. Mm-hmm. But I don't believe that. I think that we all, if you feel the loss of something, it's a universal human emotion. So you're going to feel sad, and you're going to feel a bit desolate, and you're going to feel lost, and you're going to feel like, your life has shifted and changed in a way that you didn't want it to. And so you've got to readjust. It's like, I suppose, you know, a tornado has demolished your life and you've got to find a new ground, like find something solid, and also you've got to find meaning and you've got to find a way to want to keep going. Because I think that the initial reaction for a lot of people is like, take me with you. I don't want to be here without you. I mean, for me, certainly, I would have always thought, I wouldn't want to be here without him. You know, what would there be for me without him? So you've then got to find things, reasons.
Because you've known him since you were 16 years old.
Exactly, yeah.
Like a huge part of your life. Huge part of your life.
Yeah.
And kind of to hear something so frank and honest like that, you know, I think it's going to grab people to be like, you don't know how you exist outside outside a person.
Because it's sort of like your identity, but it's also almost physically part of you when you're so close. Yeah. And when you've spent, you know, we spent so much time together because we didn't really, like, I didn't have a job that was like a 9 to 5. Yeah. And so I was always with him, you know.
Can you take us back to when you were 16? How did he?
I wish I could. That'd be so nice.
How did he sweep you off your feet?
Well, we actually met in a pub in London, and I was just there with a friend having a drink, as you do when you're 16. And
different times. No asking for guard ID back then.
This is in London. They didn't have guards.
Okay.
And Shane and his bandmate Spider came in the door, and you know, I clocked them straight away because they looked really cool and very different to everyone else, you know, with the black suits and the crombies and the, you know, the hats and stuff. And Shane came over to me and said, "It's Spider's birthday, buy him a drink." And I said, "Fuck off." Am I allowed to say fuck?
No, use the language there, but we're setting the scene.
Tell the story.
And that was it.
That was
it. Like Mills and Boon, you know, when you hate them, but you also love them. It's like...
Is that how it felt for you?
It was like a Mills and Boon.
Like, because I just
like, who is this guy?
Yeah.
With that nerve. Like, why has he got the nerve to come up and ask me to buy his friend a drink?
But that got you. That got to you.
Well, I think it wasn't just that. It was his look and his vibe and his whole... And then a couple of days later, I went to see them play, and I was totally sold because they were so good and they were so different.
And you were with Shane from before all the massive success. You knew the Pogues before they were like hugely massive.
Yeah, but they were already incredibly successful, even at that time, because they always had queues of people trying to get in, and the mosh pit was like totally mental. So there was always people like, you know, it was jammed in together, like pushing each other, shoving, throwing things at the band. So it was always quite mental. And it was obvious that they were definitely going places, you know, because with that energy.
Yeah.
Something
like that. You along with him. But I believe you got engaged, but had to wait 11 years before you get married.
Nothing wrong with that.
Was that another
Nothing wrong with that, is
Nothing
there?
wrong with that, my friends.
Right. Are you engaged but not married?
Yes,
was that your call? Or were you
engaged?
Keen to get married? Or
No, I proposed to him the first year we got together, and he turned me down, and then we reversed a couple of times. Like he would propose to me and I would say no, and then I would propose again, he'd say no. And eventually we got engaged, and then we realised that we didn't really want a big fussy wedding.
Of course, yeah.
We wanted, you know, something really small, and we didn't... It was difficult, but eventually we managed to get a wedding in a place where we didn't know anyone, which is Copenhagen.
Amazing.
So nobody was able to come.
I remember those pictures. I remember everyone's like, oh my God, they've done it.
Yeah.
Because you are so intertwined. And then, because you did your thing, you were a music journalist, he's an artist, he's a writer, you do all these separate things, but you were so together. And then I know that you were shocked when he was gone. Like,
completely.
Like he didn't think that he was dying. You didn't think he was dying.
We didn't, and the doctors didn't either. So it wasn't like they were keeping it from us. They fully expected to be able to pull him through.
So can I ask you then about when he was gone? Because it really did feel like the whole country, even around the world, it was a public grief because we all watched the funeral on the television.
Yeah, I know.
Like
it's unusual, isn't it?
It was so unusual, and everyone
Yeah.
was talking about it. It was like, oh, did
Yeah.
you see this at Shane's funeral?
Yes.
As though we all knew him, but he was your husband. You were with him forever. How did that feel to you?
Well, I think it's always a mixture of good and bad. You know, in some ways it was great because it felt wonderful to see that so many people cared about him, and you know, that was really uplifting and really supportive for me. And we didn't know that so many people cared about him because, you know, had a fairly quiet life a lot of the time. We didn't really go out very much. And if we did, it was just out to dinner or to a movie or something. So it's like, you know, very normal. Yeah. And so to see like so many people was just quite weird, but nice.
Yeah.
And, you know.
A huge outpouring, but it seemed like people really enjoyed themselves.
They
it
did.
was a party.
Yes.
It was celebrating a wonderful life.
Yeah, it's true. And I think, you know, you've got to look at it that way, don't you? Even though you're sad, you also have to look at the celebration of the fact that they did exist.
How were you with that when you saw people up dancing?
Well,
and
I was
music?
the one who got up dancing. I started that.
Were you in a bit of were you in a state of shock at the time? Like, what was going through your mind at that?
I think I could feel Shane's energy, his essence, his presence very strongly, and I could feel that he was very joyful and that he was kind of dancing around like going, hey, I'm free, you know, I'm not in a wheelchair anymore, I'm liberated in a way. Yeah. And his joy was very tangible. You know, I wasn't the only one who felt it. A number of us could feel it. And so, because he was so devout, you know, you've got to take that into account. You know, he was the type of Christian or Catholic or whatever who actually believes that when they eat the host, it is the body of Christ. Very few priests believe that. I know because I've asked them. And they're like, oh, no, that's just something we say. So Shane genuinely believed in it. So he was very much with Jesus and Mary and the angels himself. And I think that's an important part, is that gives you, you know, I knew he was safe and I knew he was happy. And that was important to me.
That's really gorgeous because, you know, again, he communed with his world and his religion in that way. For you, like you mentioned angels there, and I've known you for years, and you have been talking about angels, special angels, and now you've got the Angels of Trea Collective, and this is something that like you and Shane always talked about. Can you tell us about, you're wearing one of the angels there, and it's something that you've done in the past years, so much painting and everything.
A lot of painting. It's really helpful. One thing I would say to people, you know, grief can also be quite creative. Yeah. Because there's so much of an outpouring of emotion that if you can find a way to channel it into something like music or art or whatever it is, gardening, it doesn't matter. But it's actually very helpful because it's somewhere for it to go. Yeah. You know, and I found that I got quite creative.
And within that creativity, can you tell us about that? Because I always associate you with angels. Like always, you've always talked about how you've spoken to angels for years.
Yeah, for like a really long time, about 30 years. I think. Yeah. So in 2019, I began painting them because they sort of nudged me to. They were like, we need you to paint us. We need you to like, get some canvases and just start. So I hadn't had any kind of training as an artist, and I didn't really know what I was doing, and I felt like I might make a stupid mess and it might look ridiculous. But you know, I just kept doing it, and what helped, I think, was that they would come through with a message, and it would always be very helpful. Like this one, she is an angel who gives inner guidance, and she's kind of the one that pushed me to do, you know, jewellery and scarves and paintings and exhibit them and actually take action. You know, because a lot of us, we get an idea.
That's who she is. I love that they've got their own personalities.
Yeah, so they're like friends. Yeah. Like life coaches.
Well, because you're doing an exhibition this Friday until Sunday in the City Assembly House in South William Street.
Yeah, and it's funny because people don't, like the City Assembly House was the first purpose-built gallery in this country. I think even in England as well, in the whole like
years ago. We're going back to it's a beautiful building.
Yeah, it's a beautiful building. So I'm really looking forward to having the angels in that space.
Amazing.
It's such a nice space.
And how do you know, we know you're so open and you're great with people. How does it feel like going out there into a public stage again? I suppose without him, it's a different part of your life now.
Yeah, it is really weird. And it's something that he always wanted me to do. You know, he did always tell me that I didn't push myself enough and that I was lazy. that I really needed to, you know, get off the sofa and get out there and like, you know, bring my work out because, you know, he did that with his work. And I was always a bit shy and a bit like, oh, I think I'd just rather hide, you know, and not.
Well, it's amazing that you are doing it. and I think so many people will appreciate going to see you.
Oh,
work as well. It's amazing.
Well, I hope people will get the benefit. I mean, what I find with them is when I wake up in the morning, it's the first thing I see is angels because they're all around the house.
Yeah.
So they are, to me, like transmitting benevolence. They're transmitting kindness and hope and reassurance and things that you need, you know.
Things that you need.
At any time in your life, whether it be a really sad time or a really happy time. I think we always need.
I think I just want to say a huge thank you for coming on and talking to us.
Oh,
and we know we're coming up to a very difficult time. People talk about that first anniversary. And just so many people love you, love your husband.
Oh.
And thanks for letting us into that whole process as well. Thank you so
Maireann.
much.
You're so lovely.
Victoria Mary Clarke, thank you so much for coming into us this morning.
Thank you.
It's gorgeous. You can see that. It runs from the 27th to 26th, as Tommy mentioned, at the City Assembly Hall, South William Street in Dublin. Thanks, Victoria.
There you have it. Still to come here on Ireland, and we're checking out the check trend on the catwalk.
Yeah, we'll be talking to you in just a minute. Now, from the chessboard to the finish line flag and straight into our wardrobes, Autumn 24 is all about checkered prints.
Is it? Well, Justine King is here to say, yes, it is. Good morning to you, Justine.
Good morning.
Is it all about the check?
It's all about the checks, small checks, big checks. I wish someone was paying me a good
checks.
check. I was gonna say.
Not the money checks, are the checks we like. And here's some of it on the catwalks at the moment.
Yeah, so we're seeing here from Balmain, that one's from Chloe, that beautiful checkered kind of cape. We're seeing a lot of that kind of country chic look. And this one is Helmut Lang, so it's about clashing checks even of different sizes. So kind of more is more when it comes to check.
Oh, look at that, isn't that fab?
Yeah, isn't that gorgeous? Yeah. That's from Balmain as well, so that kind of black and white check.
But I know when I'm in the country, I'm getting my Balmain dress on. It's the perfect thing that you need going through the field. Perfect, perfect.
Okay, you're going to a lot cheaper than the Balmain dresses, I'd imagine.
Absolutely, we're doing it at a more affordable price point and maybe a more wearable way to wear them. So
this is lovely.
Isn't this gorgeous? So this coat is from Friday's Edits, an Irish brand you'll find online. We're seeing an awful lot of khaki around as well, and that's a really nice way to do it because the coat is so statement. You can just go really muted with everything underneath. It is that kind of oversized fit. It's lined and then it has its pockets as well, and it's kind of a shacket kind of a look as well, but it's that little bit thicker.
Don't start me with
I was like, she hasn't said it.
Don't start me with
she's going to get away with it. And
well, it's more of a coat in that it's thicker and it is lined. It also does come in a kind of a grey and blue tones as well, if the khaki isn't for you. But it makes it really nice because it has the black going through it, that we can pair it with all black underneath as well.
Yeah, and you've dressed it up.
Yeah, I decided for this time of year we'd dress it up here. Little sweater vest underneath. So this little vest is sleeveless, and it's just got that little slight turtleneck, and then it's got a little bit of a padded shoulder. So it's a really kind of flattering
to have in the wardrobe. Yeah.
Layering piece. Like put that over a white shirt even.
Yeah.
To kind of layer up nicely.
Yeah.
And then we've tucked that into the high-waisted midi skirt. So this is leatherette. It's got there actually faux buttons down the front. That's a really handy one to have in the wardrobe. It's a great fit, and you can wear it with your tights. You can dress it right up. You could dress it down with a chunkier boot even during the day. And then it's that nice kind of just below the knee length as well.
Those boots.
Yes, they're kind of like a 1960s twiggy sort of a boot with the line up the front.
There's something a bit different about them, isn't it? They're from Green's Shoes. So Green's are in Limerick, Galway and Donegal and online. They have the contrast of the kind of patent and the suede, and then that little patent block heel makes them kind of 1960s, isn't it?
And the line up the front as well.
They also come in a bright pink, which is quite 60s too, which is quite different as well, but the black is our kind of more muted and wearable style.
Bracelet there.
So our jewellery here is all from Corona Silver. So we have a gorgeous gold bangle here, a nice heavy weight to that one, and it is adjustable as well for different wrists. And then we've got our statement.
I love those chunky pieces. They're great.
They're nice, aren't they? And we're just tying in the greens. It does mean when she takes the coat off, you've still got something going on with the outfit, the little bit of green. That is from the Prue Leith collection at Corona Silver. So it's got kind of Prue's funky print and everything in it.
That is so Prue.
Yeah.
That is
all of her pieces are so her. That's the amazing thing.
So I know
this
her.
Prue Leith, the baker.
Yeah. Great British Bake Off.
So next up, Hannah's here in this gorgeous look from On Trend. So this is gone for the more kind of monochrome checks, which Dior were doing a lot of this year. It's very classic and gorgeous.
Very cute.
That's all one
pretty
piece.
Dress.
Yeah, so the blouse and everything is all one piece. And it does come with a black blouse instead of a white underneath as well. And then it has that kind of boucle tweed, so that very kind of Chanel-y look with the bit of gold lurex thread. That just moves nicely in the light there.
It's very Paul Mescal at the moment. He's doing lots
he's wearing
of these.
all of them, isn't he?
All these long collar type
We're
things.
seeing so much of it. So you can wear it up in a pussy bow or just worn like Paul Mescal in the kind of tie detail here. But I think that you could wear that into work with your thick black tights if you wanted to, pop a blazer over it. But it also would work for your kind of Christmas Day look as well. It's really chic and wearable. And it's a nice kind of stiffer fabric, so it means it's really flattering as well to wear.
And then you've done it with ankle boots.
Yeah, so we've just gone for the little booties. You could do the longer boots that we just saw, but these little booties, and then they have the little bit of a rhinestone black detail just curving around the ankle, so really nice.
In it.
Yeah, flattering fit, and then the almond toe. So they're just your handy boot. Wear them with any dresses and skirts year after year.
Lovely.
Yeah, so we've gone for the kind of pearl details. So we're keeping it super classic, starting with those earrings, and we have them on a kind of gold-plated base. They come on a sterling silver as well. The bit of diamante detail, and they are Majorica pearl as well. So a really nice, beautiful pearl on the Swarovski crystal.
And the neck bracelet.
And then the bracelet, so a gorgeous black bangle. Isn't that kind of nice? You see, you don't really see that black bangle a lot. It does come in red and in green too, and then we've got that kind of pearl again and the diamante. So it all kind of flows nicely together in our monochrome.
Thank you so much for that look. Beautiful. Danny is our third look today.
Yeah, so we saw Danny in this a little bit earlier on, and it's our super cozy, definitely going for that kind of heritage checks as well.
Yes.
This is something you want to wear today while it's freezing and rainy and everything. It's
Very
just
Kate Middleton,
isn't it? Yeah, and that is that kind of country chic that we're seeing a lot. The kind of Barbour, I guess, look at a more affordable price point here, because this whole look is from Paco, who, of course, have 22 stores around the country and they're online. Super cozy layering piece. It's really soft to touch.
Are you calling this a cardigan?
Cardigan, yeah. I have no fancy word for you for this one. It's just a cardigan with a hood.
Thank you.
This comes in a pink as well. But I love those kind of brown autumnal kind of tones because they're really easy to pair into your wardrobe. We've gone for the simple little cotton roll neck, great little layering piece. Of course, you could pick any of the kind of browns or blacks going through the jacket to wear underneath too. And then we've gone for the jeans next. So the comfort denims. So these Paco do in black, in light denim. They are a slim leg and they call them designed by women for real women because they're just a good jean. They are high-waisted, comfortable to wear, and that's slim but not skinny leg on those two.
And then, of course, as you mentioned, the heritage boots.
Yes, so we've gone for this kind of riding boot style. What I like about these is they're a bit of a wider calf, so it does make your leg look slimmer, means they're going to fit lots of different calf lengths or sizes, but also the zip at the back, which is not how you put them on. There's an inside zip. The zip at the back can be worn down a little bit more if you want them that little bit wider again. Yeah, so they are a nice wide fit, and then they've got the nice rubber sole.
Very statement.
Yeah. So we've gone for something a little bit more statement to elevate your kind of daytime look. So the necklace here, it's got that kind of resin beading, again, in those kind of autumnal colours, the lovely khakis and the browns on that nice kind of rope thread. And then we've got the beautiful bracelet to match it too with those kind of brown beads too.
Gorgeous. They're
Very
absolutely
nice.
lovely.
Thank you,
so
Danny.
much, Danny.
And Ursula's back for our final look.
Yes, so we're going for a black, but not nothing boring about this look, I would say. You can still do black and do it a little bit elevated with our checks. We'll start off with this fabulous jacket. So the whole look is, again, from Paco. So this has the faux fur trim, and then it has those elastic panels you'll see at the front if they're showing up on camera. That just makes it an even more flattering fit. And enhanced kind of breathability, but it kind of hugs the figure, but there's still lots of nice movement. And it's super lightly padded, so it's going to add warmth without adding any kind of...
It's a very ski jacket fit.
Yeah.
You know, that sort of way that
really
tries to give you a waist.
But a little bit dressier as well. It's not just your standard kind of puffer. You can wear it with a little dress like this, and of course it has the hood too.
Gorgeous. So this is a dress.
This is a dress, and this is a great now coming into the Christmas season. Could be your Christmas day. You could wear this to all of your kind of luncheons. It's easy, it does the talking for you, and it's comfortable. So it's got that kind of ribbed knit at the top, and then it has the check at the bottom. So this is always a great idea. If you are kind of maybe bigger on top, it's a good idea to detract with your print on the bottom half, right? So if you're bigger busted and stuff, this is a great option for you, is to wear your print, you know, on the bottom half where you might be more comfortable showing off. It's got the little fabric waist belt as well. You could add add a leather belt to that if you wanted to, but it is kind of all done for you. So then our boots here, so we've gone for the kind of classic knee-high. What I love about these is they have a silicone band on the inside of the boot, so they will stay up on the leg. That is my biggest bugbear with the fabric boot, is when you're wearing bare legs, they fall down. So these will stay up on your leg, or with the light kind of tight as Ursula's wearing there, it means they're going to stay up.
Greens. Yeah, that's good. And the jewellery.
So the jewellery, we'll start off with her earrings here. So they've got a gorgeous cat's eye gemstone in the black, which we don't really see in that kind of gemstone a lot. They do a whole range of colours in these, so you could add a little bit of colour and go for the red or the green. But I love that black against the gold, it's really classic. And then her bangle here is a mixed metallic, so it's got the silver and the gold, meaning of course you can pair it with any silver or gold in the wardrobe.
Beautiful, Ursula. Thank you so much,
Justine,
my
they're
love.
lovely looks.
Thanks a million.
Thank you
As
so much.
always. Boom, boom, boom. Justine King.
Gone.
We'll see you again very soon. Now, coming up next, we're getting the skinny on soothing winter skin.
Yes, the Skin Nerd is solving your problems after the break.
Welcome back. Now, earlier in the show, we chatted to the Skin Nerd, Jennifer Rock, on how to stay protected in the upcoming cold months.
And Jennifer's back to answer some of your questions around winter skincare. Welcome back, Jennifer.
Welcome back. Thanks so
now,
much.
we missed this product earlier on because we ran out of time. And tell us about this, because people are saying when it's colder, they're having hot showers, but then their skin dries out a lot more even.
Do you know one of my favourite tips with this product, and this isn't how Eucerin stipulate you should use it, but I actually mix this in with my shower gel. So your shower gel is a game changer. Your shower gel is a really important part of a body skincare regime because a lot of them are based on what's called surfactants, which is essentially an ingredient that cleanses you but can take too much moisture out of the skin. And then we spend a lot of our money, time, energy, effort putting moisturiser back on, whereas actually looking after what you use to wash yourself is important.
Why does shower gel do that?
It's just like when you're walking through the supermarket, you see the fluorescent orange and the fluorescent blue. They're more for the aromatic element. Whereas what we're talking about today is winter skin, irritated skin. This particular product is a moisturiser in its true sense. And we were talking earlier about how you had a guest on yesterday. So this is ideal and clinically proven for xerosis, which is extremely medically dry skin. Also suitable for psoriasis, obviously alongside your doctor's recommendation. But there's an ingredient there called urea. So urea is 10%
so literally,
urea.
Sorry, how much would you be putting into your... So if you're putting a scoop of shower gel in your hand, put a little bit of that into it.
It depends on the ratio. So I would usually probably wash myself all over first.
Yeah.
Beautiful visual for everyone on a Tuesday morning. But then for my second cleanse, because I often wash certain areas twice, I would go back in and have quite a large ratio of that. Or if you're just doing one wash all over, I'd have like 50-50. So you're still getting the hygienic element for your shower gel, but you're bringing in that extra layer of hydration for yourself.
What does urea mean?
So urea is essentially that's naturally something inside it. 10% upwards is where you have that clinical level. So I just think it's an amazing ingredient because it helps repair your natural moisturising factor. So for really dry, irritated, sensitive skin, alongside your medication or without it, you get 72 hours hydration. It doesn't impair the barrier where shower gels do. So sorry, can I just say, you don't have to use it with your shower gel. That is my top tip for it. You can use it straight after the shower, all over, top to toe, for very irritated
skin. If you use it with a shower gel, would you then use a moisturiser as well after the shower?
You don't need to.
You don't need
to.
There we go.
Yeah, see,
and it's saving you money because it goes longer.
And it's such a decent size and it's so affordable as it is.
Okay, that's one thing there. Now, supplements. What do we got here?
Inside out, baby, Alan. You
Inside
know
out,
this.
yeah. Loves it.
I really do believe in it, and if I could advocate it, it's not to talk about supplements for the sake of supplementation, it's to talk about just an awareness piece of looking after ourselves, whether it's through our diet every single day. So like your nuts, your seeds, your fish, your oil, ask yourself, am I getting them in? Could I up the ante on it? And really looking at omega-3 specifically from a skincare perspective. Now we know omegas in general are great for heart, brain, arteries, which of course is hugely important. From a skincare perspective, where omega-3 triumphs is that it's extremely anti-inflammatory. So again, going back to that topical piece, if your skin's quite dry, irritated, honestly, taking omegas, I say this to people all the time, they say, I have really dry skin, Jennifer, and I'm like, are you eating much fish? And they're like, sorry, did she hear me right? It's because I really want to get into people thinking about the omega-3 having a huge impact on their skin.
Okay.
So it's literally like an
for
internal
vegans,
moisturiser.
there is an issue then.
Yes, and there are options out there.
Okay.
This is an Irish brand, really affordable. You take 1 or 2 a day, you can go up to 3 or 4 a day if you wish. The difference is you might not have to lean on a body moisturiser as much because it literally hydrates everywhere. Whereas when you're putting a topical product on, it just sits on that area.
Yeah, it's it's on the skin.
Do you keep taking them though, or do you do courses of them?
Yeah, so for something like an omega-3, this AIR product, I would take it every day. There's no doubt. Whereas I understand the argument with supplements, with multivitamins, that you might go through phases of them. But with this, honestly, I mean, look, as I said, heart, brain, etc. But from a skin perspective, I see the biggest difference. And when I'm compliant and committed versus when I'm not, I'm telling you now.
Notice the difference.
Notice the difference.
To be
when
fair,
I'm
the same as you. I can be quite good, and then I'll be bad for a month.
That's what I'm saying.
Put an alarm on my phone, and I just keep going with it.
Take 1 or 2 capsules.
She takes an alarm on her phone. Okay, we talked about the skin barrier earlier on, and environmental factors, and this is something that you think is a great shout.
Look, a lot of what we spoke about this morning are ideal for that very dry, very sensitive, very irritated skin. So for what's an ideal option for someone that doesn't have that but just wants to mind themselves? They are slightly more conscious that the skin is tighter, but they're not irritated by it. I'll always come back to Aveeno. I just think it's a beautiful, affordable price point. It's a daily moisturiser, one of those of which I think this one is open on if you want to have a look. It's got colloidal oat in it, so it's extremely hydrating. There you go, 48-hour moisture. It's really smooth.
Pump on, babe. Come on.
Come on,
pump.
It's smooth and it comes.
Of all the people I thought they would pump inside here.
Nothing's happening.
It's because it's brand new. That's my bad. I did use that last night though. Anyway, the point is this is what we call an emollient. So an emollient is something that locks moisture into the skin, and that's what colloidal oat does. It's ideal for really sensitive skin. I'm just going to keep chatting through.
If you can get that out now.
It dries really fast. No, it dries really fast, but it's not greasy, and this is something you and I have spoken about. Some people love the feel of a product on the skin, and some want it to absorb in. This is one for for those people that really want it to absorb in. $9.99, really decent product, very affordable, and
I don't mean to keep banging on about it. Damp skin.
Damp skin. That's Muireann's top tip for today.
It will go longer.
That's your Aveeno Daily Moisturising.
I started to do that, but I find it really weird when you're still slightly damp when you're putting creams on your face.
It just flies.
But is it not weird though? It feels.
Generally
I don't feel like it's getting in as much.
I think we've been trained and conditioned to like blot, dry, then put on, or even get out of the shower and really dry yourself. Now, obviously, drying between the toes and things like that from a health perspective.
To be fair, she's the one who taught me how to do that years ago. Okay, we're moving on to this. This is the same brand. What's the difference with this?
So some people, myself included, adore an oil, so I wanted to bring an oil option into the plate. Now, can I, before we go any further, I don't know if you'll even see it on camera, but there's a beautiful sheen on this arm versus this arm. So one arm, the one that Muireann's touching, the lower one has got the product on it and this doesn't. But like my skin is fairly...
She's moisturised with it in it. You're a slippy slide.
I'm slippy sliding.
But the oil one is more moisturised.
Yeah, divine. Again, really affordable. It's got jojoba in there. That's one of my favourite, as a massage therapist, one of my favourite oils to work with. It really does have a beautiful slide. It's got the oat in there as well, but it helps with texture. So not only does it actually hydrate, but if people have kind of lumps and bumps and roughness, I personally would, like I sit at a laptop a lot. So my elbow. Yeah, exactly. My elbow gets quite irritated, a little bit red, just rough, I suppose. But it really helps with that, and elasticity. So it's more of an anti-aging, all-rounder, oil-nourishing one.
Oh, delicious. Okay, gorgeous. Do we
have
time for
we just have.
any question?
There was some question. We'll get to one of them. Skin on my eyelids have become red, dry, and itchy. I haven't changed any routines of makeup or anything like that. Is there anything you could recommend?
When something is itchy, I'd always go first and foremost to the pharmacist. They may recommend the products that we had here today because they help with anti-inflammatory and itch. But when we think about the eyelid and how much we actually blink within an hour, we're asking a lot of it. And then again, back to what we spoke about earlier, you're out in the environment where there's no moisture in the air, and then there's just that constant friction. And it does tend to happen from 40 onwards, and it can be linked to perimenopause, menopause, and lots of changes happening hormonally. So just to have a conversation with your pharmacist is what I'd recommend.
That is so amazing. As always, Jennifer Rock, you will be doing nerdy talks on the Skin Nerd about all of these things afterwards. You can find Jennifer on the Skin Nerd. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. We really appreciate it. Slippy slidey is what we are. Now, before we finish, it's time to reveal this morning's competition winner, the slidiest of us all, Tommy.
Yes, thank you very much, guys. Earlier on, we asked you for your funniest phone stories to win a whopper prize, thanks to Virgin Media Broadband. And today's winner is Marie Byrne from Thurles. Here's what she said. It's very funny. I was on the phone to a company one day on a very important call. I also happened to be saddling up my Connemara stallion, Charlie, and the phone was on the hands-free. My amazing boy, the horse, decided to let out the mother of all farts. So here I was talking away on a very important phone call, and Charlie is playing a tune in the background that lasted about 15 seconds. I knew that the lady on the other end of the phone would have heard it, and so had to explain that it was the horse and it wasn't me. We both started to laugh, and I just really hope that she believed me. Well, listen, Emery, thank you for sending in that.
Can you start blaming it on your Connemara stallion from now on?
I don't have the Connemara stallion, unfortunately.
The person going, why are you on an important call if you're with your Connemara stallion?
Well, listen, those things have to be
we
looked
all wish
after
we had a
as well.
Connemara stallion in our lives.
But of course, you win a brand new television, a new Xbox, and a new mobile phone as well, thanks to Virgin Media Broadband. Amazing prize, and that story is absolutely class.
Absolutely
and of course,
fantastic.
We are giving away that prize every day this week, so make sure you tune in. Tell all your friends. Have to watch Ireland AM if you want to win.
We'll have a different criteria tomorrow.
Yeah, different question.
We are changing it every single
story.
day.
There was some class ones there.
There's
some
very,
very funny
Thank you
stories.
so much. Now, coming up on tomorrow's show, you might have seen her, she's in the paper today. Our very own Catherine Layden is going to be opening up about the realities of living with the lung condition COPD.
Yes, we're going to be, and I'm going to be taking a test as well tomorrow. Comedian Jarlath
The man who thinks he has everything, including menopause when we talk about it.
Comedian Jarlath Regan talks translating the secret language of the Irish mammy.
And from GA champ to Aussie rules giant, Zach Toohey is going to be dropping by to reflect on his sporting career. Amazing story he has as well,
fantastic.
Both here and over in Australia. But listen, thanks so much for sending in all your messages and thanks for joining us.
Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow.
Bye.